Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the Basketball Bulletin. My name's Trevor Lane. Joining me, as always, is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, whatever are we going to talk about today? Nothing going on. Just a quiet day around the NBA.
Absolutely not. LeBron didn't decide to drop 1 billion nukes today. Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, so most of what we're going to talk about on this live stream, by the way, we kind of an impromptu live show decided, you know what, let's go live. Let's talk about all this kind of stuff. We're going to dig into LeBron's comments on the Pat McAfee show, what they mean. There's a lot of stuff for us to dive into here. Have not seen the entirety of it, but obviously a lot of clips going around right now that we're going to dive into. So let's get into, first of all, it's LeBron and his comments about the NBA draft. And I think it's something that a lot of people have kind of had top of mind, especially whenever we get into draft season, this idea that the NBA draft could be rigged. Now, here's what LeBron had to say on the show about this. Here we go.
Listen, man, during the ball drop, during the lottery drop, Cleveland got the #1 pick. I just don't think that was. What a coincidence!
Don't you think?
Wemby with the Spurs.
Oh my God! Let's keep LeBron home. You know what? Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. Derrick Rose to the Bulls. I understand the assignment, guys. I had to make sure that I had to do my part. I didn't want to be a fuck up. I just didn't want to be a fuck up, man.
All right, so LeBron basically saying the NBA draft is rigged. I mean, am I wrong? Like that's what he just said. The NBA draft is rigged. He said that, him staying in Cleveland, he knew the assignment. I mean, that's kind of a bombshell that a dude that was maybe the most famous #1 overall pick ever is saying that it was rigged to get him to Cleveland.
I mean, when you lay it out like that, and there are other instances he doesn't and they don't mention, it's interesting for sure. The sheer amount of coincidence that has to take place for some of these things to happen to keep a guy like LeBron the year he comes out in Cleveland, specifically out of all the 30 teams or however, I don't know if there's been any expansion since, but the number of teams, that's a crazy coincidence. Derrick Rose, he talked about, it's kind of crazy when you think about it that way. But I also want to put a different spin on this a little bit too. Nothing crazy, but I think it's interesting that the guy that's the face of the league, been the face of the league for the last couple decades, is like, yeah, this stuff is rigged. So
right. I mean, him saying, and that we'll get to this, but if LeBron is saying, even he thinks the draft is rigged, what else is rigged, right?
Yeah.
They're going to go as far to rig the draft, right? That's going to tilt the scales. And you know what? There's a lot of money involved. Obviously, there's a lot of like. Hey, look, let's go back and let's look at draft history here. Magic Johnson goes #1 overall to the Lakers. Now the Lakers had other players they could have selected. There were some rumors that they could have taken someone else, but instead they wind up taking Magic Johnson. Like, think about how much league history changes if Magic Johnson isn't there. If the Lakers don't have the #1 pick that year for Magic Johnson. And then anything about right. Well, James Worthy, that's called Ted Stepien. Thank you very much.
Ridiculous.
Thank you very much, Ted Stepien. that was the Cavs owner was an idiot. Yeah. And now we have a rule against it. But the frozen envelope, right, with Patrick Ewing in 85, you look at well, I mean, the one that you and we just talked about this before we came on air here. Not only is there LeBron going to Cleveland and obviously him being a Cleveland guy and all that, like the coincidence that he winds up being there, Derrick Rose in Chicago, of course. But how about Anthony Davis going to, at the time, the New Orleans Hornets, right after the NBA made sure the Hornets did not get good pieces back in their Chris Paul trade, did not get pieces back that were going to help them win that much that season. And then they coincidentally win the draft in a year when everybody saw Anthony Davis was an all-NBA generational potential talent sitting there. And right after the NBA steps in and reverses the Chris Paul trade, right after the NBA steps in and says, oh, no, you're not getting all these guys for Chris Paul. Instead, you're getting this future stuff. You're getting a couple of players, things like that. Oh, but don't worry, you're going to get the #1 pick and we're going to get you AD. Yeah. That That's like that always felt fishy to me.
Well, to take it a step further, while I agree with you, say nothing of the 13-14, but what about Cleveland getting Kyrie right after LeBron leaves?
Oh, that's another one.
And that was the Clippers pick that year.
That's right. That was that pick that was what, like 9th?
Yeah,
10th,
it went
something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what happened that year. So they got Kyrie right then and there. And again, 13 and 14 get turned into more stuff for them to put into, especially Wiggins, package for LeBron's return, all that. But getting 3 first overalls in that short amount of time is crazy too.
It really is. It really is.
And remember, that's the duration of LeBron being gone, by the way. 3 in the 4 years LeBron is gone.
Almost as though they specifically loaded up Cleveland so they could bring LeBron back.
Yeah.
And then that was
kind of crazy.
And then
if we want to go down conspiracy, that's kind of nuts. And then what about Zion, showing up right after that's all, folks.
Right, like Anthony Davis leaves and immediately the Pels get Zion.
I don't know.
It's a little fishy, to say the least, when you're looking at how this all played out. Like, oh, Pelicans, you lose Anthony Davis via this trade. We're going to make sure you're getting, everybody knew, AD was going to be on the way out. You're going to get Zion Williamson coming in. It's okay. You're going to get the guy, right? The next big guy. Zion was about almost as hyped as LeBron was coming in out of LeBron coming out of high school, Zion coming out of college into the draft. And he happens to land where they needed him, right?
And what about Wemby, right?
And then, what about Wemby? Like, you've got a French, again, potential generational talent that lands with the team that had Tony Parker, that was like mentoring him and all that, and he happens to land with the Spurs. Like, when that draft lottery, I remember that because, Donnie, I'll tell you, I was begging and pleading with the basketball gods, please don't put anyone else in the damn Western Conference. Give an East team the number 1 pick. And the Hornets were right there, right? Please let it be the Hornets that get this guy. Keep him in the East. Nope, you knew it, but I knew. I knew he's going to the Spurs. Everybody knew he was going to the Spurs. And lo and behold, he goes to the Spurs. I don't know. When you add all this up, Donnie, and you think about the amount of money involved and everything, it feels a little like too much coincidence going on here.
Yeah, it's like I said at the very beginning, it's an awful lot of coincidence that the year LeBron comes out, he goes to his hometown. He's not from Cleveland, but much.
Akron, right there.
It's close enough, right? It's closest thing. So that's kind of crazy. Just overall, the amount of coincidence with that, the stars that need to align is ridiculous. But to see similar things like Rose and stuff, it's kind of crazy. And I saw a chat said, I feel like they probably do it every now and again, not to not make it obvious. And then I can't help but look at some of the names on here that are just like Bennett's or Ayton's.
Sure. Right. Anthony Bennett, obviously that was a down year and everything, but specific certain players, the superstars, guys. Right? Those are the guys that seem to wind up somewhere. And then Kellen said, not to mention the Pelicans were for sale. So getting the first pick in Anthony Davis gave them a star and boosted their value for potential buyers. I think that's, worth noting too. The NBA wanted to sell the Pelicans at that point. Remember, the NBA.
That's actually a big deal. That matters a lot.
Right. So, that's it was interesting that LeBron had that to say about the draft, had that take on the draft, and saying that he thought it was rigged that he wound up in Cleveland. It makes me wonder then, where does Cooper Flag go? Like, what would be the most rigged version of Cooper Flag? What Cooper Flag landing spot would make you go, oh, that's it, it's rigged?
There's a couple spots, but Dallas stands out like a sore thumb to me.
Oh, could you
imagine? If Dallas somehow, some way climbs all the way up, that's nuts.
Right? Like that. Oh.
There's a couple, but Dallas to me is like, that can't happen.
San
Antonio also can't happen, by the way.
You know what? I haven't I've looked at different Cooper Flag landing spots. I think to a degree, as much as we get into the conspiracy theories and all that, part of the reason why it's easy to like talk yourself into, yes, this is a real thing, is you can make narratives for a lot of teams, like, oh, it's rigged if this team gets him, it's rigged if that team gets him, that type of thing. But I think Dallas would be an interesting one because of the backlash of the Luka trade. And did that devalue the Mavs franchise? Well, you can't have that. We'd better get them a replacement. Better get them Cooper Flag, right? If Dallas jumps up, that would definitely raise some eyebrows. What about Philly? Given how bad their season was and how important that team is to the NBA as a whole, to get some excitement back in there in Philadelphia, that could be something. I've had people say, "Oh, it's going to be Utah," because they overtly have tanked. They got in trouble for how hard they tanked, right? Yeah. Utah be the team that had Andre Kirilenko. You put a white guy in Utah and it's going to go well, right? I mean, Cooper Flag. Just saying.
Filipowski too last year.
Yep.
Make it work. I wanted to just say this comment. I'm sure this can apply to a lot of these different things that these teams that tanked and put themselves in position to get these players. That context does matter for sure.
Sure.
But still, it's still like the fact that they still walk away with it, regardless of having a boosted chance.
I'm sure some mathematician could figure out what are the actual odds of LeBron landing in Cleveland and Derrick Rose landing in Chicago and Kyrie landing in Cleveland right after LeBron leaves and Anthony Davis landing in New Orleans and Zion Williamson landing in New Orleans right on the heels of the Anthony Davis, right? Add all that up, Patrick Ewing in 85. It's not just, the Cavs had a 22% shot at LeBron James that year. Like, okay, right? That's 1 in 4 coin flips, just about that would land LeBron in Cleveland. That's not unbelievable. But what about when you add all of that up on top? What are the actual mathematical odds of all of those things happening? I'd be really curious to see what that is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
People saying it's going to be the Sixers. That was another team that I would be like, no way if they got Cooper.
Right.
I would think that's complete BS because I personally think, I've said it before, I think Joel's great, but I don't know how much longer his runway is. So
he's in some trouble here. I mean, 30 years old and he looks, I hope he gets back to normal. I hope he gets back to being himself, but right now he looks like he couldn't move on the floor.
Yeah.
He couldn't move.
I question that. So yeah, I don't know.
Oh, this comments that with a super chat. Appreciate the super chat. Said Patrick Dumont, Nico, sacrificing Luka for Flag. Silver made the call, said, we'll get you Flag, win-win for the league. That's now we're talking about a conspiracy within a conspiracy, because that's the league traded Luka to the Lakers because they wanted their ratings to go up, and they have. We've seen that. The league wanted Luka in the big spotlight in LA, and they said, to compensate you, we're going to make sure in the draft you get Cooper Flag. Wow. That would be that would be extra confirmation, I think, if Dallas gets Cooper Flag, that maybe the NBA had something to do with the whole Luka thing and all of that.
It almost is too obvious. It can't happen. I just don't see it happening. It's too
right,
obvious. Especially because they have that would actually be like a miracle if it
does. Right. What's the odds right now that Dallas gets the number 1 pick? They have a 1.5% chance right now of getting the number 1 pick. The Mavs do.
That's actually a miracle. Like there's no way.
When that happens, Donnie, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose it when that happens.
There's no way. It can't happen. It just can't happen. That's unbelievable.
All right. There was a lot of other stuff that LeBron talked about besides LeBron admitting that he believes the NBA draft is written. Like, I feel like people aren't talking about that enough. Like, you've got the face, as you said, Donnie, the face of the league. Don't talk to me, Steph Curry fans. The face of the league saying the NBA, I think it's rigged. That's something. Now you've got, though, how about this? A lot of people.
I just wanted to bring this up. Is this true really quick? D Rose went to Chicago, 1.4% chance, and Zion went to New Orleans, less than 2.
D Rose was because it was the Clippers pick that actually jumped up.
Man, the Clippers love trading number 1 picks, don't they?
Well, it wasn't even. They were getting off of Baron Davis's contract. They thought there was no way that it was going to wind up being a good pick. They thought it was going to be like the 9th or 10th pick or something like that. And then they traded that. But I don't think Zion was really 1.4%, was it? I'd have to go back and look at that year.
Everyone knew Wemby was going to the Spurs. Absolutely. That was the worst kept secret ever. Everyone knew
Wemby going to the Spurs. Oh, because that was the discussion before the draft even.
Everybody
watch, he'll go to the Spurs because they always get the historic big man.
And it actually happened. Everyone knew it was going to happen. I'm sure they had a better chance than 1%, though.
Think about it. The NBA is a superstar-driven league, right? And I'm not one for, buying into every conspiracy. I think in most cases there's a logical explanation for stuff.
Yeah.
But the NBA is a superstar driven league. And there's a lot of money behind these guys landing in the right spots, behind these guys becoming the next star, right? And I know everybody says, well, but you could just, funnel them all to the big markets and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you could. But in lieu of that, wouldn't the next best thing being putting them in specific markets where they're going to really take off, right? Where it really makes sense to have them. That, we've seen that happen quite a bit. Again, LeBron staying in Cleveland and the like.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to look at. It's just interesting. Another thing interesting, people like to go, I don't particularly like it, but people like to go to the LeBron versus Jordan comparison. And LeBron was saying that Michael Jordan doesn't want to talk to him right now until he's done playing. That to me was a little bit surprising, Donnie. Do you think Jordan, does that suggest Jordan is a little threatened by LeBron and doesn't want to kind of give him that boost, take him under his wing necessarily? Or what do you attribute that to?
Well, with them, I mean, it's always been kind of like friendly, but at a arm's distance, right?
Yeah.
Arm's length. Like they've never really been close like that. Nothing, absolutely nothing like how Jordan and Kobe were. I think that some of that is the way that LeBron was portrayed coming up. I mean, before his very first game, the NBA, I think ESPN, whatever network he was on, ran a whole promo about all the greats before and all this stuff. This guy is a rookie coming and playing his first game. Like the expectation on LeBron, the way that he's been able to play and elevate his legacy in the last couple of decades, whether people are detractors or otherwise of his. I think there's just a lot of different things between these two. And Jordan is not the type of guy to reach out and be friends with just about anybody anyway. He's not that kind of guy. So yeah. I think that they've always kind of been like this. I don't know that he's threatened, but I think he just wants to let him keep his journey going until he's done. And then finally at that point, they can sit down and really get to know each other.
What's interesting in this is you talk about how Jordan was with Kobe. And so I was at Kobe's memorial in LA. I was in the building for that. And when Michael Jordan got up and he made the kind of the joke about the crying Jordan meme that was going around and said he was going to create a new meme and all that. And that kind of like softened the mood. But we're sitting there and this is, in the building, obviously very somber the whole time. Not a dry eye in the house, right? And Jordan started talking about what his relationship with Kobe. And I remember sitting there looking around, looking at everybody else, like going, what the hell? Like they kept that all so secret. Nobody knew about that. Nobody knew about Kobe and Jordan, like actually talking to each other during the season and all that. And Kobe going to Jordan for advice and all that. Everybody always looked at it as Kobe's trying to be the next Jordan. He's trying to be better than Jordan. He's trying to do it. He picked number 24, one better than Jordan, all that stuff. And this was new information that was coming out about how Jordan like kind of took him under his wing. And it's just interesting, the comparison here with LeBron that Michael doesn't want to talk to him until he's done playing. Now, maybe some of that was when he was owning a team and there's some CBA complications with that, but that's not the case now. So I'm a little taken aback and surprised that that's the relationship, just given how MJ was with Kobe.
Yeah, I think that's definitely interesting when you sit back and think about it, because like I said, I feel like that's kind of always been the way it's been between these two specifically. And I don't know if it's because the media has tried to pit them against one another for so long or whatever it is, but I don't think either feels threatened in any way about the discourse surrounding the other, of course. I think they're both pretty secure with their accomplishments and otherwise, but yeah, definitely pretty interesting when you think about, the way it is with Kobe. But again, that's also Kobe. Kobe's one of one, and Kobe is the only guy that I think Jordan's probably opened up to like that, aside from guys that maybe came before him. So this is probably nothing new. This is probably just status quo for Jordan also. It's just weird because it's LeBron. And I'm pretty sure LeBron probably also, this is the context we could be missing. I'm pretty sure he probably said this a little tongue in cheek. He's like, oh yeah, he doesn't really want to talk to me right now.
True.
Like, he probably didn't mean anything serious by it.
All right, let's get into this. Is what everybody latched onto immediately was, of course, the stuff going on with Stephen A. Smith. Somebody said the Marvel Live is still going to be live while the Lakers game is on. LOL. I'm wondering there with everybody else, Donnie. Like, I want to know why 12 minutes. Why are they? What's there has to be like conspiracy theory, right? There has to be some kind of hidden meaning behind all of this.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, man. We're talking about conspiracies today. There's got to be a reason. 12 minutes is awfully specific. Have they posted anything else since we've been on?
Not that I've seen, but I haven't been keeping an eye on it.
Okay, I'll check it out, but we'll see.
All right, let's go. Let's take a look at this. This is LeBron's comments on Stephen A. Smith, and I've got some thoughts here. Some of them I've shared on Lakers Nation already, but let's take a look at this.
It's obviously to you and Stephen A. Hey, legit, that feels like a moment that had been brewing for a long time.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah, we're watching it. Yep. We're all seeing it.
Oh yeah,
you're seeing it as well.
He literally, it started off with, I didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it, but since the video came out, I feel the need to address it.
You would be not to talk about it.
Are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you could address it, it's your ass. Like seriously, it's and like another, he completely like missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job, to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players, and I think a lot of the media, including him, and I know he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about it again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair in his tighty whities on the couch.
I hope at some point you two do get a chance. But you're right.
Dude, relax, bro. Relax.
Donnie, I think first and foremost, the funny thing is that Stephen A. and Pat McAfee, they're both working for ESPN. They work for the same company.
Yeah. But this is a chess move though, because he's a competitor. They're not cordial. They're competitors. This is a chess move.
Who? Pat McAfee and Stephen A?
Yeah, that's why that's also like the undertone of this. They're competitors. That's not.
So Pat was more than happy, just like LeBron's talking about Stephen A. smiling ear to ear and all that kind of, which I totally buy. We talked about that he's like skipping over to ESPN studios the next morning, getting to talk about it after that whole confrontation.
Pat seemed like he wanted to get into it, but was trying not to. Like he wanted to say a few things.
He did. Do you agree with what LeBron was saying there? That first of all, that Stephen A. missed the point of why LeBron was upset.
Oh yeah. We talked about that on this channel too a couple of times. Really quick, we were talking about it. Rebecca Ramjan and Marsden were the new ones that got revealed.
Oh, Rebecca Romaine,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, her and Marsden. So they're doing a whole like X-Men.
So that's Mystique and Cyclops, right?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to it. We talked about that a lot on the channel, that like Stephen A. didn't really understand everything about this whole circumstance. Like I think he took it in a way that he thought LeBron was just trying to deflect criticism on Bronny, which, like LeBron said, that's not how that works. Like he knows that better than anyone. That's not how that works. He's out there, he's performing, he's on the big stage, he's fair game. Like anybody could talk about him if they want to. He can't say anything about that. But what he took offense to was that Stephen A. was like, oh, as a father, I'm pleading with you. Like you're doing Bronny this huge disservice. You're doing the Lakers a disservice. You're doing the fans a disservice for making them watch your son. Your son's only out there because XYZ. When in reality, the reality of Bronny is that he was somebody that was an All-American, was a McDonald's man, excuse me. He was a lottery projected pick. basically missed a lot of his college season,
Mm-hmm.
and he was on a stacked team. So if you go back to his high school year, his stats aren't crazy because he was on a stacked team and wasn't asked to be a bucket getter. And then you can largely just write off the college year. So maybe you could say he gets drafted because of a different reason. But the reality of Bronny is that he's much more talented than he's shown or had shown at that point. And he's just now finally starting to show what he can do. And he had a nice game in the NBA, of course. And Stephen A. had to later come on and talk about that, despite them losing that game. But I think that the whole thing with the Bronny situation is, and I think this is maybe where LeBron maybe made a little bit of a mistake, because he put a lot of pressure on Bronny by doing that tweet a year or two back where he said he's better than a lot of guys out there. And so all that does, it just gives these people ammo and ways to talk about him in terms of criticizing him on the court. But the thing is, like I said, while it might have been a mistake, he doesn't really care about that. All he cared about was protecting his household. You talk about him as a father and all these other things, right? That's the most important thing.
And that's where Stephen A. crossed the line, right? Is he made it sound as though LeBron was harming Bronny, that he was doing a disservice to Bronny, but saying, as a father, stop this. Like you're putting your son in harm's way, making it this big dramatic thing. And obviously that's not the case. Look, Bronny doesn't have to play basketball if he doesn't want to. He doesn't have to. He can do whatever he wants to do. LeBron said he can run one of my companies, right? I mean, the kid doesn't need to worry about money.
I mean,
he doesn't need to play.
Died. Like, he doesn't have to.
Exactly. Exactly. The only reason why he's got to be out there is because he wants to be out there, because he loves the game that much. He loves to play. And you look, he's actually having success. They had dropped 39 points the other night in the G League. But it was the as a father part that really upset LeBron. And then Stephen A. making it like he's trying to shield Bronny or something like that it doesn't make sense. And from LeBron's perspective, first of all, him saying, well, I wasn't going to talk about all this, but I guess I have.
That was total bullshit from the jump.
Right. Complete. And everybody knew that. And that's where, Donnie, that's the problem I've got. That's the problem I've got in general with like the hot take shows. And it's not that they do a bad job. I think there's real value to debate. It's that I don't know what's real and what's not. And that's the problem. Like, I want to know what someone actually thinks. I don't want to know what someone is saying just to make a TV segment better. Like, if one person says something, the other person takes the opposite stance, there's value in that if you're exploring the topic. But if the goal of it is simply to try to show up the other person, yell louder than the other person, and try to create drama and not actually further the conversation, I don't know if you're actually saying what you believe. Maybe you do believe that emphatically, that this is proof LeBron's a bad father or something like that. But I don't know if you're just doing that for effect or if this is something you actually truly believe in. And I think that just winds up being drama for drama's sake, which, look, don't get me wrong, it can be entertaining. And these guys have done a nice job with it. And Stephen A. Smith has made a hell of a career for himself and everything. But what's real? What do you actually think? That's what and it's the same problem with politics. Are you towing the political party line? Are you just falling in line with everybody? Or is this what you really actually think? And that's the problem I've got with politics too. So it's this all gets kind of rehashed into LeBron against Stephen A. Smith. Like, is that really what Stephen A. thinks, or is he just saying it for dramatic effect? And I tend to believe it's for dramatic effect. Just like when he says, I don't want to have to talk about this, nobody believes him, because that's very unlikely to be true. And that's what I don't like seeing, when guys are just saying stuff just to say it and they're not giving you the truth about what they think.
Yeah. To be fair, I think maybe that is what Stephen A. thinks. He just may have been misinformed.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's also possible.
Oh,
but
Channing
I did
Tatum
respect.
Just got announced, apparently.
Oh, nice.
The Marvel thing.
Yeah, I did. Anybody else? Just him?
No.
Okay.
They're doing one every 12 minutes.
Well, no, but they've been doing two people in one. That's how I got.
That's right. They've been doing something too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I do think that he probably was a little ill-informed, and I did like that he came back and talked about it again afterward, where Bronny did have a good game. But I thought it was funny. He was like, I've always thought that Bronny, ever since I seen him, could have been an NBA player. But I think you could, with that all, you can get pretty like high on semantics, where it's like, okay, did you say that he couldn't be an NBA player? Were you saying he should be in the G League, this and that? Okay, whatever. But the reality is that you did XYZ. So
yeah.
I think you could argue it either way, and it's all semantics largely. But he did come back and talk about it. And I think he is probably just a little misinformed.
Well, and we'll see where this goes from here, because now Stephen A is going to probably respond to this. And by the way, he would already had a soundbite earlier today about LeBron and LeBron's comments about Giannis and how he could score 250 points or whatever if he was playing in the 70s.
Yeah, two sound bites. He had a soundbite saying that LeBron wouldn't sit down with him to do a show. He said people will get physical with him, I believe, before LeBron sat down with him to do a show.
I did see that. And did you see Brian, who LeBron took some shots at Brian Windhorst, says he's weird and he doesn't know why he thinks that he's like his friend or something like that. And Windhorst was on that panel too and said something about it. Said like, oh, I don't think he would. When somebody made the comment like, oh, I bet he would sit down with Windhorst. Windhorst was like, no, I don't think he would.
No, yeah.
And then Stephen A said he definitely wouldn't sit down with me.
Yeah, LeBron went out. He was just trying to flame everybody today.
If there was some way, if they put that on pay-per-view, LeBron and Stephen A in the same room, what would people be willing to pay for that?
It's so silly. I'm not dropping a dime for that. That's terrible.
People would.
They're not getting a dime out of me. I'll
you know that. Not only would people pay for it, but there would be odds on it. There'd be odds. Vegas would have odds. Does LeBron punch Stephen A?
No.
What, all that kind of stuff.
I know a cash grab when I see it. You're not getting me.
No. All right, let's get into this. So LeBron also talked about said I would be able to play in any era. 100% agree. 100% agree. LeBron would be able to play in any era. His skill set is such that he could play whenever.
Yeah, that's an offshoot of or maybe the part that leads into the Giannis thing.
The Giannis thing. Yeah.
But did you see the part where he talks about how like Rodman said he couldn't play in any era, this and that? I
did not see that.
Yeah, that's where this comes from, because Rodman had a comment a year or two back where he said LeBron couldn't play back then because XYZ. That's always been weird to me. Like, what makes you think that LeBron can't play in a quote unquote more physical era? Which, mind you, LeBron played in the dead ball era. He played all the way back then. Like, what makes you think that he wouldn't be fine in any era just because he has dramatics every now and again on the court? Like, I don't really. What makes you think like he would adapt like anyone else? It's weird.
I think, yeah, and that's what always gets me, because when people say, "Oh, well, Shaq could never play today," Shaq could never play, right? Like, we take people from different eras. We need to understand that if you say just go grab George Mikan and put him into the game today, is he going to look good? No, but think about how different the game was back then. Think about how different the game was in the 80s. Shit, go look at the game. Go look at a game from 2005. It looks like you're watching a different sport. Watch how many guys are in the paint. Look at the power forward standing right at the top of the key, or standing right at the corner. You don't have the power forward back then that spaced the floor could shoot a 15-footer like Horace Grant. Yep. This is not the same game now. So when you say, well, pluck a player out of a certain era and bring them to today, can they play? You have to remember, do they get a chance to adjust to the rule changes? Is that player coming up in this era? Because that changes things. Same thing with LeBron. If you take him back, does he get to adjust? And honestly, I think LeBron is one of the players that doesn't need to adjust. That wouldn't, like Trae Young. Yeah, he'd have to adjust a bunch to the rules, right? He'd have to adjust a lot. But LeBron could just hit the ground running, because his skill set is such. He's so diverse in the things that he can do. He could play during any era. I have no doubt of that.
Yeah, I mean, probably the greatest unicorn that never gets talked about plays, and I'm not talking about LeBron here. The greatest unicorn that never gets talked about played in the 80s and 90s, Muggsy Bogues. We can't he could play and have a productive long career, but LeBron can't play in that old era. I don't get it.
And like, think about that. In NBA history, if you were to take any player, you could pick any player in NBA history and clone that player and have a team solely made of that player. LeBron would have to be the pick, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he could play any position. You could put him at the 5, and he can play the 5. You could put him at the 1. He could play the 1. If you a prime LeBron, I would clone LeBron over cloning 5 Jordans and putting them all on the court together. 5 LeBrons would beat a team of 5 Jordans. I don't know if LeBron would beat Jordan 1-on-1, but 5 LeBrons would beat 5 Jordans.
That's kind of crazy to think about. 5 LeBrons or 5.
Am I wrong?
That's a crazy game. I mean, maybe
I would pay for that. If we can make that happen, Donnie, I would pay for that on pay-per-view.
Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy. I don't know, man. That's interesting. Yeah, like I just think that's weird. I think he could play in any era. The only reason I've seen people list as to why he couldn't is because quote unquote physicality. But like, okay.
But that goes back to his next comment here about the last 5 or 6 years. Everybody claims he flops all the time, and he says I've been in the bottom half of free throw attempts per game. I think he misspoke a little bit there. Maybe you talked about this a little bit before we went on the air, that maybe he meant superstars, because he's definitely not. He's
probably superstars.
I'm biased in all of this, of course. You know, I cover the Lakers. You're a Lakers guy as well. I think LeBron gets a terrible whistle. I think he gets hit a lot and doesn't get a call, which is crazy as like the face of the league. People think that he flops all the time, though. I literally watch every single game that the guy plays. And has there been a play or two here or there where I'm like, oh, okay, he embellished that a little bit? Yeah, but it's certainly not a night. I mean, I look at what James Harden was doing on a nightly basis. I look at what Trae Young was doing on a nightly basis. These guys, like, who were manipulating the rules to the point where it was an embarrassment around the world, to the point where they had to step in, the NBA did, and tell officials to call the game differently because it was getting so ridiculous. That's not what LeBron has done. So when people say LeBron can't play in a physical era, I think he absolutely can play in a physical era. He's so big and so strong that he's still going to power through people even if they're fouling him. And that's kind of not to the same degree. It's not like you're getting clothesline Kurt Rambis style like in the 80s right now, but he's already doing it. He's already playing. I think LeBron plays a more physical game than most guys do in today's NBA. Certainly players are more physical with LeBron right now than they are with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who will go flying into the 15th row if you even look at him. It's a different game.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, Trev?
I'm trying to say that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't as big or strong as LeBron James. And
okay. Nice save.
At all. That's it. I'm not saying Shai Gilgeous-Alexander flops. No, I'm definitely not saying that at all.
Nope. Nice save. Yeah. That's the thing with LeBron is I don't know. I think it's just been weird for him for the last maybe 8+ years where he's not getting the whistle that people think he gets because he's LeBron, and you would think he would get every whistle. And maybe you tuned into one random game where it's an outlier and he actually does happen to break the 10 free throw barrier, which he very rarely does. Mm-hmm. And then people try to explain it away. Oh, he's shooting more threes, this or that. But then that's not true. That's not the way, especially over the last couple of years where he's really, he hit a period where he was taking 8 threes a game. He's really cut that down the last couple of years. That's just not true though, because he's still attacking the rim just as much as most of the guys that attack frequently and all these other things. You can kind of explain all that away. The reality is he doesn't get the whistle people think he gets. And on the flopper bit, the thing with it is that the NBA had this really bad flopping period, when he around the time LeBron went to Miami, around that time, everybody was flopping nasty, including LeBron. He was flopping a lot back then. And that's why he also says over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Because really what it is there, and that was longer ago, of course, than that. But there was a really bad period there. And so what a lot of people do is they'll take a clip from LeBron from all the way back then and show him flopping. And here's the deal. I'm going to take your line. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Am I saying that LeBron doesn't flop once in a single season and hasn't flopped over the last 5 or 6 years? No, I'm not saying that. What I will say is I think most of the time he does a quote unquote flop. It's to embellish the contact, to just sell it a little better. So he actually does get the free throw because he doesn't get to the free throw line very often. Yeah. So that's where it's weird. And there was a comment here that said LeBron is like Shaq. That's always been the thought process, is that he's like Shaq, but then I see Giannis, who's also the same way, but he gets to the line.
He gets the call.
Weird. It's just weird.
Now, to be fair, Donnie, I do think part of the reason for that is Giannis, LeBron, they both can go freight train mode. there is more of a fear of Giannis now than 40-year-old
sure.
LeBron. I will say we're seeing just from LeBron being with the Lakers, we're seeing more teams live with just contesting LeBron at the rim than we were when LeBron first arrived in LA. Compared to when LeBron first arrived in LA, and teams would go, "Oh no, LeBron's going freight train. He's barreling down the lane.
He's 40
grab
now.
him, tackle him, something, foul him. We have to stop him, otherwise he's scoring us." Now we're seeing more teams that are going, I'm not sure that I'm going to contest. He probably scores it, but I'm going to try contesting. Giannis is still in that, oh God, he's going to end my life if I don't foul the hell out of him right now. That's it. I do think Giannis gets a pretty decent whistle. I think he gets away with a lot too. But LeBron, there is that aspect there. I would expect LeBron to get fewer free throws than Giannis. This much fewer, though, is a bit surprising. And there is that little bit of that shock element to it, where he's so big, so strong, players bounce off of him. But when people just fall back into this narrative that that he flops all the time, I'm like, what game are they watching? Like, they haven't been watching the NBA, or they haven't been watching LeBron play in quite a while if they see him as this guy who just constantly flops.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you know that LeBron's only averaged more than 10 free throws in his entire career 3 times? Three
Really?
times. Yeah, 3 times. He's not even gotten close to it either. He's gotten 9 once, a couple of 8s, but it's mostly been 7s. And then basically since leaving Miami, his free throws per game have gone down pretty much year over year over the last 10 or so years. And he's had a career low of 4.7 now. Last year was also a career low of 5.7. 5.7. The year prior was 5.9, which would be a career low, except his rookie year was 5.8. Like, he's been going down and down and down for a while, and he just doesn't get the free throws people think he gets, or he should get. And there's also a narrative where, and there has been for various years when you talk about this, that he creates a lot of contact, so refs kind of let it go because maybe he's fouling the other player. But then I can point to other players as well that are still getting the whistle. So I don't really get it personally.
When we're talking about LeBron, like, actually, he bulldozes players at times.
I'll be completely honest. LeBron is my favorite player. I've watched his entire career. He has got away with many a stiff arm in his day. Like, I'll be completely honest. It is what it is. But if that's the case, I feel like it should be 100% even for everybody. But really what it is that it feels like there's a bias towards a lot of the smaller guys. They're able to sell that contact so much better and get to the free throw line on a consistent basis. Yeah. Guys like Trey a couple years ago were getting there like 11 times, if I remember correctly. And it's just kind of crazy.
But we had guys like Trey and Harden who were, Trey has a straight line right to the basket. Nobody between him and the hoop. There's a dude standing over in the corner, right, on the other team, and he'll run across the court to run into the dude in the corner, right? Okay, I'm exaggerating, but veering out of their way to go run into somebody. Harden grabs the opponent's arm, throws his arms underneath him to try to get the call. All that that to me is different than, I got contact, I'm not going to fight to stay on my feet, or I'm going to make sure the ref sees that this contact. It's like when a defender falls taking a charge. Did they really have to fall? No, but let's face it, they don't get the call if they don't fall on that.
For sure.
That's what LeBron is more the variety of, I'm trying to highlight the contact that is here. We've seen guys that are trying to create contact that is either not there, or they're creating contact that didn't need to happen, or they're acting as though there's contact where there literally is none. And that's the difference between what LeBron has done and what the level that some of these other guys have taken it to. So it's always a surprise, but it all falls into LeBron being so polarizing and people wanting to find reasons to discredit him or whatever. And the flip side is also true, where people will do everything they can to try to support him. So I think it falls into that, where you're going to get more people jumping in to perpetuate this narrative that LeBron is this flopper, and he's even speaking out against it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say on this one, that's also not the case. Joker averages like 6 a game. He doesn't get the whistle that people think he gets either.
Yeah,
but you may
seen how he looks like. I hate that, like how scratched up he looks.
Yeah, he gets beat up.
He looks like Zangief from Street Fighter 2. Like, he's so scarred up and everything like that. After he's so scratched, I'm like going, how?
Oh, Trev, you cut out. Yeah, he can't hear you. Where'd you go? I can't. Maybe it's me. Hold on. Chat, can you hear Trev? I can't hear him anymore. Oh, I can hear you like super quietly. What the hell? Maybe it's my headphones. Hold on. Let me put you through my speaker. Oh, we can't hear him either. Ha, it's not me. You're super quiet. Your mic cut out. Yeah, I was going to say, just by the way, on the Jokic thing, it's really funny. He averages 4.7 free throws per game on his career. That's hilariously low for a guy like him. Oh, now you're not back. Never mind. I thought I heard something. No. I hear like a clicking sound, so I think your mic might have cut out.
Here, I'll switch to my onboard mic. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you again.
Okay. All right. Could be Stu bumped the cord or something like that. Obviously, sound quality is not going to be as good, but that's all right. We're about to I say the most diabolical stuff. That would be the way to get like make you think the mic is off, and then
just start talking hella mess on the side. Oh yeah, but yeah, it's just all pretty weird. I don't know. We could go on that for a while, but yeah, the whole situation, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Sure. All right. Let me see if I had anything else that I wanted to get into here. The LeBron and Giannis. Oh, Mind the Game is coming back. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Steve Nash on there.
Yeah, that's right. Steve Nash, the maestro, the point guard. Love seeing that. So exciting stuff. But, this was obviously a very informative conversation that LeBron had with Pat McAfee. Is the NBA draft rigged? That was a big thing coming out of it. But I'm excited to see what the response is going to be to this. Obviously, I'm expecting something back from Stephen A. Smith. And we'll see where this all goes. But it also, Donnie, it's got me excited. Like, I'm not looking forward to LeBron retiring. I hope he plays forever. But when he does retire and he has more time to do this kind of stuff, like, imagine the stuff that's going to come out. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Like, I'm not looking forward to it either. But, man, I can't wait for him to, like, start doing media more and just talking more. So we'll have more of this. It's going to be pretty interesting because he's been around for so long. I'm sure he's got so many stories and things to talk about. Like, that's crazy. So I'm excited about that piece too.
All right. Well, everybody, we'll wrap things up there. I'll try and figure out what's going on with my mic before we got to do play-by-play for tonight's game. But thank you again, everybody, for coming in, for joining us. Still no word on what's happening with the Avengers, that mystery going on there, but a lot of stuff going on in the world of the NBA. Thank you again, everybody. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure you hit the subscribe button here on the Basketball Bulletin. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.